Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, How Top Performer Campaigns Can Radically Change Accounts for Better or for Worse. Whoops, give us 1 second, guys, and we're going to show our screen. There you go. Okay, and we're back. The webinar today is hosted by Hannafin Marketing. My name is Jamie Newton. I am the Communications Manager for Hannafin, and I will be your moderator today. And your presenter is Lauren Rosner. She is a Senior Production Specialist at Hannafin Marketing. She also blogs on PPC Hero. If you want to follow her on Twitter, it's at LK Rosner. Hey, Lauren, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, thanks.
Good, thanks for joining us. We've got just a couple of things to go through before Lauren starts her presentation. So real quick, we wanted to give you just a brief overlay of who Hannafin is. We have 3 brands, Hannafin, PPC Hero, and HeroComp. PPC Hero being our popular PPC blog, and our conference series, HeroComp, will be in LA in April of next year. So if you want to learn more about that, you can at www.herocomp.com. Hannafin Marketing is an industry-leading digital marketing company. We manage and optimize global paid search, paid social, and display programs. And fun fact, our first and our second clients are still with us today, 12 years later. We were established in 2004, so that's pretty fantastic, and it's all because we have a really great business model. And even better is that the clients that work with us will see their accounts grow 250%. faster after signing with us. That's pretty cool. 250%.
It's huge.
And we've got data to back that up, just so you know. And 93% of partners still work with us. So if you need a team of PPC experts, we got a whole building full of them. So contact us. Check us out. And just a little look into who our clients are. We work with some pretty big brands out there and Fortune 500 companies in a variety of verticals. So you'll see Weather Channel, Iceland Air, Shoe Carnival, Burpee, Sunglass Warehouse, a lot of great people. So if you want to see more of who our clients are, you can on our clients page on hanafinmarketing.com. All right, so for today, if you want to join the conversation, use the hashtag ThinkPPC in your Twitter tweets, or use the webinar question box right there on your control panel. We will have a live Q&A after Lauren's presentation, so go ahead and send those questions in as you think of them, and we will answer as many as we can at the very end of her presentation. So quick poll question. How long have you been in PPC? Less than a year, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, or 5+ years? If you'll take a moment, go ahead and answer that question for us. It just gives us an idea of who's in the audience today. And while we're waiting, Lauren, Lolo, as we lovingly call her here, how long have you been in PPC?
So I started my PPC career here at Hannafin a little over 3 years ago. I made a career change, and when I found Hannafin and when I discovered PPC, I knew it was kind of the right industry for me, and it's been fast-paced and growing both here in the agency and in the industry as well. So it's always keeping me on my toes, and that's what I love about it.
Well, good. We like to keep you on your toes.
I know.
So let's look at the results. 18% less than a year. Oh, wow. 9% at 3 to 5 years, lower than what we usually have, but a lot of 5+ years, 45%. That's almost half of our audience. That's awesome. Great. So glad that we have all of you on with us today. And now I'm going to stop talking and let Lauren take hold of the presentation. So go ahead, Lauren.
Thanks, Jamie. So today we are going to talk about top performer campaigns. So what do I mean when I say top performer campaigns? We're going to look at one way to structure campaigns so you're able to focus budget and optimizations on your top performing keywords. As with most strong PPC efforts, in order for top performer campaigns to take off, you need to have a good solid foundation, and that foundation typically starts with a good structure. So account structure does matter, and there are a lot of different kind of schools of thought around how you should structure your account. And you know, here at Hannafin, we like to segment by match type, and this can be done at the campaign or the ad group level. Personally, I like to do this at the ad group level for most accounts, but as with all things PPC, there are always exceptions to the rules, but it is a good place to start. So you're going to have your campaign, and then you're going to have your ad groups segmented by match types, and then you're going to have your embedded negatives at an ad group level, and then have campaign appropriate negatives to further funnel and filter that traffic. And once you have kind of that solid structure that makes sense for you, you are going to be good to go. Now, that being said, if your account resembles the image on the right, then before you even consider top performer campaigns, it is probably a good idea to clean up your account and get it into shape. So here I've listed several good reports to run to help you determine how to go about your restructure, or even if you do need a restructure. You can find many of these reports on PPC Hero with some how-tos, but here are kind of my top 3 that I like to use and kind of briefly talk about them. With the aggressiveness scale, you're really just looking to see if you're bidding too broadly across too many keywords and spreading yourself really, really thin and just not able to pull in the quality that you need, or if you're too narrow, that you're missing out on a lot of queries and a lot of opportunities. And so that kind of judges how, the health of your account and your bidding strategy and with your keywords. A weighted quality score against impression share is my personal favorite. This is a great way to see if you have a problem with your structure or if it's a problem with your bidding. And it's a really simple report to run and really quick analysis. And typically at Hannah here, when I get a new account, I typically run this first just to kind of do a quick checkpoint to see where we need to go in order to build our strategy. And then finally, if geography is important to your account, doing a geo analysis is a great way to see if structuring your campaigns with some geo focus is the way to go for you, especially if you have a limited budget. It might be a good idea to focus on specific geo areas versus a wider range. So let's just get started. So how to build a top performer campaign. 4 simple steps. You're going to do an SQR, you're going to identify top queries, you're going to create single keyword ad groups, and then you're going to add negatives. Easy enough. But let's break it down a little further and kind of talk about each of these steps. So with an SQR, what we're doing here is we're mining campaigns for well-performing queries. And this can include terms that are included in the account already, as well as new terms that maybe you have not yet added to your account. And by identifying top performers, you need to ask yourself, what are your KPIs? What is your volume? And it's going to be different for every single account. Some accounts, 2 conversions in a 4-week period indicates a top performer, while others, 32 in a 4-week period indicates top performer. You really want to make sure that whatever you decide, you kind of hold yourself to that rule. You can adjust it if you find that you could be including more in these top performer campaigns, but really just kind of think about what really makes something stand out from the rest of the keyword performance. Then you're going to place things into single keyword ad groups. So place them in their own campaign. You can do one exact match keyword per ad group. And you can put them all in one campaign, like I said, or if you have specific categories, you can have a Thanksgiving campaign top performers, and you can have a Christmas campaign top performers. So you can get as narrow as you need, and a lot of that depends on how much budget you have to designate to these campaigns. And which brings me to my last point, you do want to make sure you have enough budget to these terms. And then you're going to add negatives. So add an exact match negative back to the originating campaign. So whatever your query was, add that back into that originating campaign. If the top performing query already exists within the account, pause the original keyword. And Google, at some point in the past couple years, thought it was doing us a favor by preventing you from adding exact match negatives back to an original campaign if that exact match already existed in the campaign. So it prevents you from doing that. I don't know when that happened. So really just, if you feel more comfortable just pausing off the term, the exact match term, that's fine as well. So when it works, it really, really works. The health benefits for the account just roll in. At Hannapin, we've seen click-through rate increase in the whole account by 22%. We've seen CPAs cut in half. It's truly amazing. In this example here, we're looking at the top performer campaign compared to where those top performers came from, the general campaigns. And in this example here, over the past 3 months, they saw an 180% increase in conversions, 12% decrease in CPA, 13% increase in conversion rate, a 13% increase in return on ad spend, and then a whopping 179% increase in total conversion value. So clearly, breaking this out truly helped move the needle in the right direction for this specific account. And the one thing you do need to, and I mentioned it just a slide or two before, that you need to really think about is how much budget you are designating to these campaigns. In order for a top performer campaign to really do what it needs to do, you need to make sure it's not restricted by budget. Your general campaign, or where you're mining these from, that's fine if that's restricted by budget. But in order for those top performers to really start allowing you to reap the benefits, give it enough money to really, really, really let it fly. Make sure that cash is flowing. So I couldn't help myself. As a Cubs fan, I just couldn't resist having a little fun at the expense of Cleveland. Go Cubs, go. But really what I want to talk about here is what happens when it fails. So sometimes, as with many things we try in our accounts, top performer campaigns just don't work. I spent weeks trying to solve the mystery of why a top performer campaign build not only failed to perform, but tanked performance in the account overall. It happens, and why I am doing this webinar is to show you why it happened or how it happened and what I did and what you can do to make sure that you have success in the future. So a little bit of background information. This client I was working with is a B2B client. We were steadily hitting conversions and CPA goals for the past 6 to 9 months, but we were falling short of budget goals. And we were always looking for ways to grow both in spend and in performance. We've seen poor performance in display, and so that really wasn't an option for us in Google to expand that way. So we really were like, how can we boost performance in search? How can we get just a little bit more performance out of what we already have in there? So here's what happened. So I mined my search queries and found top performers, put them into their own campaigns. And here we have the 2 weeks prior to the launch, the performance for Google, and then 2 weeks after the launch. And obviously that big bar down there where it has negative numbers all the way across except for CPA, that's not what we want to see. Our conversions dropped. CPA went up over a threshold that we were comfortable with, and we were just hurting. And as much as I wanted to give it time, we couldn't afford to give it time. I had to pull the plug. It wasn't worth continuing to test for the health of the account. So what did I do? besides banging my head against a wall for 2 to 5 minutes, I immediately reverted my changes. I put the account back to pre-top performer state. So performance did not bounce back immediately. As you can see here, I launched and then I reverted, and comparing, we saw improvement in conversions, our CPA went back down to a comfortable level, things were improving, and I can say that things continued to improve after this. But it happened, and it was awful, and I hated having that conversation with my client. But you know, in order to grow, in order to do anything in your accounts, you have to be willing to take educated risk and try new things. So when it fails, here's what you can do. You can double check all of your settings. So make sure that in the process of building these, you didn't switch on or off something that could affect performance of the top performers. Let it run if you can afford to let it run. I let it run for 2 weeks and then I decided to pull the plug. Yours might look a little bit different than that. So then if you can, turn it off, revert the changes, put everything back to pre-top performer state. Once again, at that point, double check all your settings. Make sure everything looks good and that it is just as it was before. Don't stop there. Analyze the performance. Look before, look during, look after. See if you can find a pattern. See if you can find why it may not have worked. And we don't do anything. We don't test anything in a black hole. So there could be something going on outside of the PPC world that affected performance, that had nothing to do with the top performer campaign. So keep that in mind. You might not have a clear answer, but just try to learn from it and understand maybe what was going on elsewhere in the account or elsewhere with the client externally that could have affected performance. And then finally, try again. Go back and see if in a couple weeks, a couple months, or maybe next year, you can try the strategy again. It does lend itself to that things change, the industries change, and it might work better the next time around. So to kind of sum it up here, I just want to leave you with some key takeaways, things to remember, and always try new things. Expect the good and be prepared for the bad. So go into trying new things in your account knowing that you've got a good plan, and if all goes well, it will work. But be prepared and have a plan ready for when it doesn't work. It will help you get through that stress of what went wrong, what do I do, and feeling like a complete PPC failure. So when it works, you want to continually mine your search query reports, keep your budgets loose, and then celebrate your success. You know, whether you can blog about it, you can tweet about it, let people know when it works. You know, it helps to kind of in our community share our successes, and we learn from each other. And you know, if you do have great success with it, fantastic. Then apply it to different accounts you may be working on and see what happens. And then when it fails, as some things do, give it time, check your settings, revert your changes, and just keep an eye on it. And make sure that once you launch it, you do monitor it closely, and when you revert it back, that you continue to monitor performance, because maybe it wasn't the top performers that caused things to fail on the account, but you won't really know unless you really take a look at that data. And that's all I have for you today.
Right, great presentation, Lolo. And I just want to apologize to all Cleveland Indian fans that are on the webinar today. We got a couple of comments about that, so.
Sore spot.
So real quick before we get into live Q&A, we want to give you guys an offer. If you would like an account analysis from Hannafin, so what is an account analysis? It is a free custom analysis for companies and brands that spend 15K per month in ad spend. So we suggest this for brands or in-house brands in particular, in-house teams. One of our experts will look into your account and compare the structure and results to industry standards. So they'll double check your work with a fresh set of eyes on the account. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and fill out that question or that very first answer. We'll keep this open for just a little bit, but we're going to go ahead on to our live Q&A. All right. So we did have a couple questions about the recording and slides. Yes, we will be sending out today's recording of the webinar and the slides tomorrow via email. So if whatever email you registered with, that's where you'll get your slides and recording. If you do not get that, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll make sure that you get those links. Okay, and we also had a question about what an SQR is. So that stands for Search Query Report. Lolo, do you want to do a brief explanation about what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So a search query report should be a part of your kind of overall weekly or bi-weekly strategy and maintaining and managing your account. It's found in the Keywords tab of Google, and you can actually see how people are searching and matching to the keywords that you are bidding on. So this is a great way to just kind of see if you're missing, if you think people are searching for your product one way, but really they're searching for it in another way. It's a really great opportunity to see where you are missing out on things. It's also a great opportunity to see if there are irrelevant queries. Your brand might have multiple uses across multiple different industries, and so what's you know, like for instance, like Samsung has phones and washing machines and, you know, all different things. So if your brand kind of covers a wide range of things, you can pull in a lot of irrelevant things. So it's a great way to just check in on the health of your account.
Perfect. And I just shared a link as well. One of our other account managers did a webinar on how to run an effective search query report in less than 15 minutes. So if you're more interested in that, go ahead to that link and watch that webinar. It's about 20 to 25 minutes long as well. So let's continue on.
So we have a question about, do you suggest multiple top performing campaigns or one top performing campaign with multiple ad groups? It really depends on the size of your account and how much budget you have to work with. If you've got a pretty tight budget, it might not make sense to have tons of different campaigns. You really want to just focus on one. But if you have a very expansive account with lots of different product types, lots of different services, then you may, like similar to your structure, want to segment that out by product or service, and like I said, have different top performer campaigns for those different segments of your business.
Great. Okay, next question.
How do you run the quality score versus impression share report? I have a blog on that on PPC Hero, and Jamie can get this pulled up, and we can send you that link as well. And let me see if I can find it here real quick for you guys.
Right.
It's probably way too detailed for me to go into over the course of this webinar, and but I do kind of outline it. One more down there. I do outline it in in my blog and kind of give you some step-by-step process in order to do that. And I think we found it here on PPC Hero, and Jamie will send you that link there as well.
Okay. Can you please explain in detail how you structure the exact versus BMM and negatives?
In the general, I'm assuming in just the general account structure. So typically, when I do this, I segment my ad groups by match type. So I have a ad group for turkey, and only turkey exact match keywords exist in that ad group. And then I have another ad group, turkey, for broad match modified, or if you prefer to use phrase, whatever makes sense for your account. And I only have then phrase match and or broad match modified in that ad group for turkey. Because you don't want to you want to make sure you're funneling exact match queries to the exact match account, you want to add in embedded negatives. So you want to add in those exact match words as negative to your broad match modified or phrase ad group. So the turkey exact terms will be turkey exact negative terms in the other ad group. I hope that makes sense.
Somebody had a follow-up question to that. Is this kind of segmentation, exact keyword campaigns separate from BMM modifier campaigns, useful just for e-commerce clients, or do you recommend those segmentations for every client?
I hate saying every, but I do recommend it for all types of clients, lead gen, e-com, and it's good because, like I said, it helps kind of funnel, and you can kind of start to see trends and using your broad campaigns to find queries that you might be missing out on in your exact. It's a good structure. At Hannafin here, it is our common practice to structure our accounts that way. That's not to say that every single one of our accounts is structured that way. Sometimes we get clients and they have a structure that works for them, and rather than throwing that out the window and starting over and doing a restructure, if it does work, we're going to let it run and let it work. We're not going to kind of reinvent the wheel. If it's working for them, fantastic. But if you find that you've got a lot of wasted spends and you've run some of those reports that I mentioned, like the aggressiveness scale, it's a great idea to try the new structure and segment.
Perfect. All right, we just have time for one more question. And again, I think this is a little bit different. Do you ever run into another creative was selected issue with this type of setup?
That is not familiar to me. I'm not sure I fully understand, as I've not run into that before. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I'm not able to answer that.
Okay. All right. Well, that was the last question for today. We had a lot of great questions, so if we did not get to your question today, I apologize. Feel free to reach out to us at marketing@hanafinmarketing.com, or feel free to reach out to Lauren on Twitter at LKRosner, and we'll do our best to answer any questions that you may have. All right, thanks everybody for joining us today. And we have weekly webinars, so be sure to check out the rest of our webinars coming up, and hopefully we'll see you on another day. Thanks.
Thanks. Sorry, Cleveland fans.